Welcome back to Stamping at the Warren, and I'm Kim Tolton, and today I am sharing with you this lovely card here. I hope you'll like it anyway. Really quick and simple to do, but really quite effective. And although this is a leaf, it has almost a feather-like effect. And it's using one of Stampin' Up's two-step stamp sets. And the stamp sets that I'm actually using is the Botanical Blooms. And you can see here there's different types of detail. So you've got the veins for the leaves, and you've got the centres of the flowers. You've actually got leaves themselves. You've got multiple sort of blossom stamp, you've got flower stamps, leaf stamps, and they can all be built up, so multiple combinations. And the colour scheme that I've gone with does follow the theme of the coordinating designer series paper that comes with this, which is called the same name. And I'm not using the designer series paper today, I'm just doing some stamping. So that's the main stamp set that we're using, but obviously this doesn't come with a sentiment stamp, so therefore I've gone with this sentiment stamp that's in the new seasonal spring summer catalogue, and it's called Greatest Greetings, and there's like 15 sentiments in there, so it covers just about everything. And I've gone with the Sending Smiles, but you could pick any of all number of stamps in there. So I've also used this stamp set, also comes with coordinating dies, and it's again Botanical Builder Framelits dies, so it coordinates specifically with this stamp set. Right, so cracking on, let's start. So begin as always with your card base, so thicker Whisper White cardstock, trimmed to 21 centimetres by 14.8 centimetres, and then that is scored through the centre here at 10.5 centimetres. If you fold over with a ridge inside, fold the cardstock, and then using your bone folder, burnish that fold up and down a couple of times to give a nice crisp finish, and that will give you a card that sits up beautifully and doesn't curl too quickly once it's standing. Next is the main stamping piece of cardstock, and for this you want a piece of regular Whisper White cardstock measuring 14 centimetres by 9.7 centimetres, and going to be starting with I don't really know what you would call it, but it's like it's this one here. I would call it like a Hessian weavy type of effect, but clearly meant to be some sort of part of a leaf, I would think. And this is how we're going to start the building. So because these are quite small stamps, and so long as you tap lightly, and because we're not doing this to be absolutely perfect, then you can stamp with the ink pad facing up rather than the stamp facing up. It's not something I generally do. Right, so just start by creating a border along the bottom, and you're going to be doing this using first, second and third generation stamping, and that just means how many times you're going to be stamping the image before you re-ink it. So then rotate the cardstock round, and then we're going to start doing a border up this side as well. So again, you don't want to be re-inking every time. Now what I want you to start doing is bringing this down. Okay, so stamp off onto the spare cardstock or your grid paper, and what I'm trying to create is a graduated, almost ombre effect. So it has like that raffia garden fence effect, that kind of thing. And it's creating part of the background. There you go, that's probably enough. I think I want a little bit more here, and then I'll be happy. And that's just about used up all the ink that's on that stamp. Close the Mossy Meadow for a moment, and then you want the Hello Honey. And this is that little blossom stamp I showed you to start off with. And you're just going to start randomly, again, stamping 5 or 6 times with this one before you re-ink it. So you're creating a border down the base of it here. And then I want you to start creating some blossom across the top. And again, if it's too intense, just stamp off onto the onto your grid paper or scrap cardstock, and that's enough for that. Next, you want to stamp your sentiment. Now, I used basic black before, and I actually think it was a bit too harsh for this. I went with the basic black because that's the colour scheme that is used in the actual designer series paper, but I just think that the black here just looks a little bit too harsh. I don't know what you think. So I'm going to go with the archival basic grey. Make sure you use Stays On ink cleaner to clean the archival inks. Otherwise you won't get all the staining off, and then you end up with a residue building up, and then your stamps don't work quite nicely. And then just straight down. And I'm not pressing hard, it's just holding it, the stamp in contact. Now I think that that works better with what we're doing here. So I'm happy with that now. So that is the stamping actually on that piece of card. So you can now mount that onto your matte layer, which is 14.4 by 10.1 centimetres, and it's in Hello Honey, so it coordinates with the inks that we're using today. And I'm just going to use Fast Fuse to pop that on. Doing it on the back of here. Okay, we'll just pop that on there. And then you can mat that straight onto your card base. And you want this in a landscape orientation. Now, I haven't lined mine up quite correctly today, so slap my hand. I promise I'll do better later. I did better on the first one. So that can go to one side. Next, you're going to be doing some first and second generation or a two-step process. So that starts with some scrap Whisper White cardstock, which I happen to have here, and the Lost Lagoon ink pad. And you want the stamp that is a leaf but has, other than the shaping of the leaf, has no definition to it at all. So you just want to ink that up nicely, and you can see quite clearly if you've got that inked up. And then you're going to stamp these 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Then you want to go back to the Mossy Meadow, so close up your Lost Lagoon and go back to Mossy Meadow. And what you've created is 3 different tones, and this is the least defined stamp. So you're going to follow, when we do the Mossy Meadow, you're going to follow with the first generation stamping onto this one, second on this one, second on this one. So you're going to create similar tones as you go along. So you're using the more defined leaf, which has a very similar marking to the border that we created. So it's a bit like a bamboo leaf, I suppose, that sort of thing. So I find it easy to turn this way. You can see through photopolymer stamps really, really easily. So there's number 1. There's number 2. And then your third one is just really a hint of colour on there. Yeah. And that's that. So you can put all your ink pads away now. I'm just going to do that quickly because I'm going to be getting my big shot up here in a moment. Right, Delightful Dijon. Let's make sure I've got everything back. So I have a colour caddy. So I keep all of my inks in there. And I put them in the colour collections. And it keeps me easily organised. And I can go back in there. Right, so that's all the stamping. And all that's left now is some die cutting and assembly. So you need your big shot. And you ideally want the magnetic platform. I'm missing a cutting plate, hold on. It's disappeared on me. There we go. Right, so ideally you want the magnetic platform. If you haven't got the magnetic platform, then use your multi-purpose platform. If you can afford to get the, I'm going to trim this off so it doesn't hang off. Anything that causes a bit of weight can possibly cause the dies to move out of position. And this is the die pack. There we go, that's the leaf one that we're using, but you can see all of those dies in there. Coordinates with all those stamps. And as I was saying, if you've got the multi-purpose platform, you might need some low-tack masking tape or some post-it notes just to hold your dies in place. But for what it costs to get the magnetic platform, I think it's, personally, I think it is a really worthwhile investment. So I just go backwards and forwards, and that clonking just means it's gone over one edge of the die, come off the other. So it's a good sign that your die's cut through. So remove one. Back on to the next one. And then your final leaf. Always go backwards and forwards just to make sure everything's cut nicely. But then my big shot is getting a little bit long in the tooth now, so it's coming up for needing to be replaced, I think. Right, that can go back off. Now, before I let this go, don't be tempted to throw these pieces away, because you can use them for sponging and giving you another dimension to some of your cards. Put my dies away so I don't lose them. There you go. Okay. Right, so we've got 3 leaves. And the easiest way to put these together, reason for 3 is there is a rule of 3s. And that rule of 3 is in line with the golden rule. And the golden rule looks at putting things into thirds, hence where the 3s come in. But generally speaking, it's more aesthetic to the eye. If you have elements on your card or scrapbooks where they come in odd numbers, so 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and if you look at bouquets, that's what you'll find. There'll be one central large flower, and then there'll be the others in usually in 3s. Right, so I like the darkest one to be on the background because it gives that sort of effect of it coming forward. So I'm going to go medium, light, dark. So just a glue dot onto the back of your first leaf. Just cross them over a bit. Give it a good squeeze. It's cold in my workshop, so the glue dots have to be pressed for a little bit just to get them to stick on. And if you roll them back, so if I always have the tape facing away from me, and then I peel it back and I just expose one glue dot at a time, crease it, and then you won't end up with a stream of glue dots all down your arm. This one's going in the back, so you need to have the front of the glue dot put on the front of this one, lay it down, and then just work out whereabouts you want that leaf to go and give it a nice press down. Okay, and then we can start bringing in your card base. So on the back of your leaves, I want you to pop a couple of Stampin dimensionals. 2's enough, one at the top, one at the bottom, but making sure they can't be seen from the back. Then the embellishing. There we go. So a bit of linen thread, just wrap it round your fingers 2 or 3 times. Pop it down and just let it find its own place. You don't want it too loose, but you don't want it too tight. Pop that down roughly where we're going to be putting your leaves, and then peel off the backing from your Stampin dimensionals, and that goes down over that linen thread, so you'll just get a hint of the linen thread coming through either side. Very organic and in keeping with the Stampset. And then the final piece, look at these are Botanical Garden jewel embellishment, so they've got little rhinestones in the centre, and they're the same shape as the flowers in the Stampset that we've just used. Perfect coordination, takes all the hard work out. I love it. I usually put a couple of glue dots on just to be doubly sure. That goes down over the top. Give it a press so it sticks nicely. And there's your card. That's it. So I hope you've enjoyed today's card. I'd love to see your own versions of that. If you want to follow my Pinterest community board, so long as I can see on your boards that you're obviously a crafter, even if it's just a small interest, then I'll send you an invitation to start pinning on my community board, where you can start sharing your ideas and looking at everybody else's, and it just means lots of ideas in one place from lots of different people. So perfect, like a micro Pinterest, if you like. All my social media details are in the show more section underneath today's video, and there will be a link to today's blog post so that you can link the typed up tutorial with today's auditory one. And that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Ta-ta for now.